brightness down. Okay. So, I want to talk about how I got my cat. And the reason I want to talk about that is because, well, I love her very much. But also, the last month or so has been a little bit hard for me. My husband and I have split up, and we're fine, we're good. But it's just hard to have a big life change, and it's been really, really lovely having a sweet cat in my life. And so I want to tell you how I got her. So, about 4 years ago, my then husband and I were talking about getting a cat, and we wanted one so bad. We've never had cats before. Um, we both grew up with dogs, and I knew one cat when I was a kid, but she was really mean and swiped at me all the time. So I don't know why we wanted to get a cat, considering we didn't know anything about them. We don't even like cats, is what we thought. So anyway, we just really wanted a pet. And I just thought and our apartment at the time was so small, it was barely big enough for two adult humans. So like one adult cat and one dog would be terrible. So we were just thinking about it. And we've been talking about it for about a few months. And somehow we ended up near the Anti Cruelty Society downtown. And we're like, well, we should just go look. We should look and see. And and I just had experience with shelters in California, and I just thought it would be super cash and just walk in and check out the animals, ask a few questions. That is not the case at the Humane Society. That place is scary and really intense, and I just want to warn anyone that wants to go there. It's a wonderful place, and my cat is amazing, but it was a terrible experience. So let me tell you what happened. So we decided to go in, and I'm wearing my coat. It's cold outside, and we go there and we go to the front desk and say, like, we're thinking about adopting a cat, and we just want to kind of ask some questions and look at some cats. And they had us fill out like 5 forms about where we lived, how much money we made, and all this stuff before we could even see the cats. We're still standing in the front foyer at the front desk, and we don't even know if there are cats. So we're putting our life on this piece of paper. And then I'm sweating, of course, because I have my coat on, and so I want to take my coat off. But there's nowhere to put it, so I'm already stressed out. So then we go into the cat room. If you've ever been into this space, it's like a giant warehouse. It's tall ceiling. It's not really a warehouse, but and they have a dog area, and then they have a room for cats that are need to be with other cats or something. They're like free roaming. And then there's a room with cats in cages. And the cats that were roaming like need friends and stuff. So we only wanted one cat. So we went to look at the cats in the caged room. And we were kind of walking around. There were kind of a lot of people in there. And I was getting kind of stressed out. So we're walking around and looking at cats. And I see a cat that I really, really like. And she's orange and she's big, big, giant face. And I've always wanted a cat like that. And I was really excited, and I was like, okay, I don't know, what do I do now? And so these technicians, which is what I'm sure they'd like to be called, I don't know, because they're so knowledgeable. Uh, she was very annoyed that I asked to see the cat, which I don't think that's an unreasonable request because if this cat is going to be in my life until it dies, I should know if it's going to hate me. So, anyway, she was all up in arms about it. So she said, okay, so this is how we do this. I guess you guys have never adopted a cat before. So this is how the procedure works. Okay. Trying to stay calm and like understand like some people just really, really love animals and this is their life and that's fine. So I'm trying to go with the flow. So this room is like a U-shaped room with uh, cages all along the one side and along the back and through the middle, and then the other opposite side is all windows. It's like right on that street. I don't know what street it is, but you can see it. It's like LaSalle, I think. Um, so it's really bright in there, Anyway, there's mostly cat cages and little narrow walkways between them, and there's a little silver bench, like right by the window. And it's barely big enough for me to put my whole butt on it. It's a very skinny bench. And I'm emphasizing this for a later point. But it's a very skinny bench. It is big enough for two adults to sit side by side, and we were both instructed. My ex-husband and I were both instructed to sit next to each other and wait, and then the technician would bring the cat to us. So while now you can imagine that a cat that has been in a cage for who knows how long, I can't remember how long that one had been at the shelter, but a cat put in an isolated space for, I would imagine, an hour would be anxious to get outside and run around. So if this has been days or months, it's ready to get out of that cage. So the the technician brings the cat out of the cage, and I can kind of see her around the corner messing with the door. Um, and she has this like squirming cat in her arms, and she says, "So I'm going to put the cat on the bench between you. You are not allowed to pick up the cat, and the cat is not allowed to touch the floor. You may pet the cat and see if it likes you, but you may not pick up the cat. And I want to repeat that the cat may not touch the floor." So this happened so fast that I couldn't stop her and say, this is not going to work at all. And so I just went along with it. So exactly what you think would happen happened. The cat stepped on the bench and immediately ran away because that's what a cat would do if it was locked up in a cage. So I just instinctually grabbed for the cat because I knew it wasn't allowed to touch the floor and I didn't want to get in trouble. But I forgot that I wasn't allowed to pick up the cat, and I got screamed at. The woman screamed at me. She was like a foot away from me, and she said, "Don't you pick up the cat! Drop that cat right now!" And I was so embarrassed and stressed out. It was a very full room. I was still sweating with my coat still on. I was so stressed out, and the cat's like running in circles around the center island of cat cages. And the technician is now chasing the cat. And I was so upset, and I was getting hotter and hotter, and I just started crying, and I left. And it was so awful. And I left, and we went home. That was it for the day. I was so upset that this woman screamed at me, and I didn't get a cat, and the cat hated me, even though it didn't, I'm sure. Um, and it was so traumatic that I feel like I've told that story a million times, but I still feel really anxious when I think about it, that it was the worst experience. Um, but when we got home, I decided like, okay, I've had some time to figure this out. That was a little dramatic of me to cry and go home. I think it was a plethora of factors that got there. Like so many things made me cry, but still, I just wasn't prepared at all. But we got home and we discussed it, and we still wanted a cat, so we decided that we would go and we would be ready this time. So this next time we picked a day and we went. We walked right in. We looked at all the cats really quickly. We're like, we want that one. And they said, that cat is from a hoarder, an animal hoarder, and it won't come out of its cage, and it will hate you for always. And it hates humans, and it'll hate you. And I was like, fine. And I was so mad and determined. They were like, you can stick your hand in the cage. And so I stuck my hand in the cage, and she went like this. She wiped her face on my hand. I fell in love. And I said, that's the cat. I want her. Package her up. We're going to take her home. And it was really quick. And we uh, finished. I mistakenly called her Leela, even though her name is probably supposed to be Lila. But I like Leela better. And she spent 3 days under the couch. And after that, she's been sleeping in my bed and cuddling all the time. So go get a cat from the Humane Society, the Anti-Cruelty Society. Do it. Be prepared that they're going to be horrible, and just get ready for having an amazing cat. And I love my cat. So anyway, that's my ridiculous story. Thank you.